Right, well, I'm delighted to be joined again today by Scottish boxing legend Billy Nelson. How you doing, mate?
I'm fine, thank you.
Well, even though you've just announced a new signing to your stable in Lewis Crocker, and there's some news with Martin Bakole and his fight being arranged. I thought I'd just talk about the seismic shift in the heavyweight boxing landscape last night with Joyce getting defeated, mate. What did you think of that, Billy?
Uh, it never surprised me that he get beat, but I don't think it's made much of a difference because they'll likely have a rematch clause. Well, they have got a rematch clause. Sorry, they'll likely have a rematch, and it just delays things more and more and more. It's just becoming a bit farcical, to be quite honest with you.
Mhm. I mean, some people were critical of Joyce's management for making the fight with Zhang last night because he had a guaranteed opportunity. But I thought that like Joyce's matchmaking was like a bit of a breath of fresh air, to be honest, in the fact that like the rest of the division's gridlocked. But I would have preferred to see him fight like a fighter who's on British shores like Martin Bakole. What did you think of it all, Billy?
Well, they got offered the fight last year instead of Joe Parker, and they said no. They wanted to fight Joe Parker.
Mm.
So they're not going to say no. They're not going to. They're certainly not going to take the fight with Martin when he's interim world champion. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gutted for I'm gutted for Big Joe. I'm gutted for Adam Morelli. He's a brilliant man. Adam. He works hard and does the best he can for his fighters. He always gives 100%. But it's just one of those things, It was a dangerous fight, and he's came a cropper, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. As a boxing coach, if you were coaching Joyce for a rematch with Zhang, what adjustments would you make?
I'd make several adjustments. I certainly would be make no go anti-clockwise against a southpaw, leading into walking into his left hand, but predominantly moving to your left. But against Zhang, I'd get Joe Joyce to be on his chest more often,
Mm-hmm.
and just use his strength. He's a very very strong man, Joe. I've seen it firsthand with Mark Bakole. Macauley's a super strong guy as well, and the two of them are going, you know, fist for fist, and they're sparring. And I knew how strong Joe was, but he never get the opportunity to use that skill last night. Why he came in light is beyond me. Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you come in a stone lighter against a guy that's 2 stone heavy?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot was made of the weight last night, and I remember the day before seeing the weigh-in, and a lot of people were talking about like Joyce must be serious because he's looking very trim and ripped up. But I just thought it was a massive mistake, like coming in so much lighter. Like it's not like when Joyce has been heavier that he's ever showed any like fitness problems. You know what I mean?
Well, Mark Bacole's 20 stone, and there's no many heavyweights in the world that's well, there's none that's got the output of punches that he's got. You know what I mean? And so it doesn't it doesn't look $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Looking physically, but athletically, he's brilliant. You know what I mean? He's very very good. I mean, so is Joe. Joe's usually a lot stronger than that, but that weight must have took out. I mean, I do think it affected his punch resistance a bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, the last time Joe Joyce was that light is the only other time in his career that I've ever seen him hurt, which was against Brian Jennings. He came in lighter and he seemed to get hurt to the body there, and it's not bodybuilding at the end of the day, is it? It's
Well, look at the best fight on the planet, heavyweight Tyson Fury.
uh-huh,
He's no body beautiful, is he? But he's still the best fighter there is.
uh-huh. Definitely. I mean, and even with Fury, now you mention it, certainly in the Wilder fights and even like the Otto Wallen fight, some of his like less highly regarded performances since his comeback have been when he's scaled in 1 or 2 stone lighter.
hmm hmm Well, against Otto Wallen, and in fairness to Wallen, people have took that fight right out of context, so they have, because, in my opinion, Otto Wallen was very dirty in that fight. It was after Tyson got cut through a clash of heads. He was using the inside of the glove, trying to make that cut a lot worse. That was a bad cut, and that's obviously put seeds of doubt in Tyson's head. He couldn't function properly, and that's how that fight was relatively close, or closer, should I say, than what it would have been had there not been a cut.
Yeah, that cut was horrendous, and like you say, Otto Wallen was using the inside of the glove and every dirty trick in the book that he could use in order to worsen that and throw Tyson Fury off. So, getting back to how the heavyweight division's gridlocked at the minute, it seems that like Joyce is now tied down potentially with a rematch with Zhang, and there's a lot of talk about this tournament in Saudi Arabia at the end of the year with Fury, Usyk, Joshua, and Wilder. Where does that leave Martin Bakole's prospects over the next 12 months?
Well, we'll just have to see what happens. I mean, I would suggest that they don't fight for any belts in Saudi Arabia, because, from a selfish perspective, if they give up all the belts, then there's 4 world title fights can get made, and see the two losers are supposed to be tournament in December. The 2 losers can get a straight shot at one of those organisational new champions. So you'd have 4 new champions. The losers of the tournament get to fight immediately for one against one of the champions, and then you have the final of that tournament and the ultimate winner, whoever it may be. But I'd like the belts to be fragmented, and 4 fights be made for 4 brand new world champions.
I mean, it seems now like there's no news on like Tyson Fury's next fight at all, and I think everybody's just waiting out for this Saudi Arabia show.
Supposedly, I think George Warren mentioned that he was going to be fighting at Wembley on the 22nd of July.
Right.
But that's obviously not going to be against Joe Joyce now, I'd imagine.
Possibly Zhang, possibly Andy Ruiz. But I've noticed in the past you've said that this is something that was going to happen to Joyce. Like, what do you think about like Joyce's fighting style and how it takes a toll on a fighter?
Well, you can only take so much of that, taking clean shots. He was taking clean shots against much lesser opposition on his way up. Clean Stavern, the guy that hurt him with a body shot, he was taking clean shots, non-punchers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always thought, and even for the spars that we had with him, I always thought a big guy that can punch and has got a bit of speed will give him serious problems, and that was the case last night.
Yeah. And what did you think of?
Listen, it sounds as though I'm knocking Big Joe Joyce here. Joe Joyce is a fucking fighter and a half. I mean, he's a strong, powerful man who'll give anybody in the world a good fight. Don't think I'm knocking him here for a minute, but he never got away. The chin never held up to the punishment he got last night, because it's an accumulation of punches throughout all his career.
Yeah.
Not just last night's punches, and being light and walking into left hands. Bad tactics, terrible tactics in my eyes.
I remember thinking that it was just at the weigh-in, I was thinking it's a bad fight for Joyce just because Zhang likes to sort of stand his ground and dig his feet in and sort of throw heavy counter punches. And I've seen Joyce caught with him pretty much in all of his fights, but he's managed to walk through them, and his constant pressure has got to his opponents. But even as early in as the first and second round there, when Joyce was back in his corner, I could see that he was visibly flustered from some of the work that Zhang was doing.
Let's be perfectly blunt, right? Zhang is a good fighter, very good fighter, silver medalist in the Olympics. He beat Filip Hrgovic. Let's not beat about the bush here. He beat Filip And in my opinion, Philip punches every bit as hard as Joyce.
Uh-huh.
And probably there's not a lot in it because the two of them are slow, but both of them have slow feet and slow hands, but powerful men. But I think Hrgovic punches every bit as hard as Joyce. And Zhang beat Philip. So it's not a major shock. I'm disappointed Joe lost, but it's not a major shock.
I see that Martin Bakole's fight has been the date has been rearranged to Poland and stuff. When's the exact date of this fight going to happen?
You had me worried there. It's next Saturday.
Oh, right. Sorry, mate. I've obviously it's been rearranged to like Poland. What do you think about like the upcoming fight with the Hulk and that?
Well, the guy's an Olympian for Ukraine, 10 undefeated. And the amateurs, they fought the best in the world. You know, he fought Piro, who's number 4 in the WBA now. I thought he beat Piro. It was very, very close anyway. So we'll win him for a good fight. I feel like if Martin Bakole turns up and his A game, nobody beats him. It's as simple as that. It's just as simple as that. I've got him in good. He's got himself in good condition. He's looking sharp. He's confident. He knows we're potentially 1 or 2 steps away from a world title shot. So he knows the importance of this fight for him and his family.
And you've said that he's 1 or 2 steps away from a world title shot. Well, last time we spoke, it seemed that he was 1 step away from it, but seemingly without fighting or anything, Deontay Wilder's been moved ahead of him.
That's I don't know how that's happened. It's happened. Not only did he jump 2 places in the WBA, but I think he jumped 5 or 6 in the WBC. It's good, that, isn't it?
Oh, it is for not fighting, mate. It's one hell of an accomplishment.
He's had one round against
Hellenius,
and the punch never landed. But hey, let's get him up there, number 1.
Yeah. It seems that like
get him in with Martin Bakole. He threatened to fight Martin Bakole at the beginning of this year, and it fell away.
Well, sort of like the domestic fight scene's really hotting up now, and like we're basically now moving into an era where you genuinely have super heavyweights who are all 6'6" plus and 18 stone plus. And there's some fighters like Fabio Wardley, Fraser Clark, and I know these are all really like a level below where Martin's proven that he is, but would that potentially be something you would consider like doing just to like raise Martin's profile a bit and fighting at some of those names?
Martin's number 2 in the WBC, mate. WBA 7 and 8 in 2 other organisations. They're miles behind Martin. Martin would obliterate all the guys.
Oh, I completely agree, Billy. I'm just thinking that like
it's a point. What does Martin gain out of beating Fabio Wardley? And Wardley's a good fighter, as is the other 3 boys. But he sparred 1, 2, 3 of the 4 guys, and they know they're not at his level. They're nowhere near his level, and that's not being disrespectful to him because they're just new to the pro ranks. They'll come along and be very good fighters in their own right, but they all know that Martin's. What does Martin gain out of beating? Talking to David or the boys Solomon or Fraser. What does he get out of beating them? It won't improve his ranking. It won't get him a final eliminator status. We need somebody to fight for the final eliminator once we take care of this guy next week.
Who do you think that could potentially wind up being then, that final eliminator? Because it seems that like nobody's really kind of keen on taking the fight.
Well, the thing is, it's no down to me. It's down to WBA. If the WBA tell him to fight King Kong. Martin will fight him. Don't be fooled with these. Martin's never knocked back. Well, he hasn't knocked back a fight. It was against Michael Hunter at the end of December. They were wanting us to fight in the third week of January. We're not training for 3 weeks to fight Michael Hunter. I respect Michael Hunter too much for that, but by all means, we want that fight because he's knocked it back as well. I mean, but it never materialised, and we've moved on. We're not going to. Martin desperately wants to fight Hunter, but we'll fight him when we're a world champion.
Yeah.
And then you'll see the real Martin Bakole. People, these idiots on social media, judge Martin Bakole on a Hunter defeat 5 years ago. That's the last loss my Jim's had, November 2018. 5 years ago nearly. And people are still happy on how he get beat with a cruiserweight. They don't know what happened to him 2 days before the fight. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But hey, it happened. We get beat. The best man won in the night. We accepted it, and he's just judged the man on what he's done since. Went to Poland, beat Mariusz Wach, stopped 3 out of 4 guys on a when he was with Matchroom. Beat Kuzmin, won the international WBC. Went to France and beat the Olympic gold medalist. You know what I mean? Hrgovic shit his pants. He ran away. He didn't want anything to do. We tried to even get Jokic to get out the fight against Martin. That wouldn't happen because it wasn't allowed due to the rules of the IBF. Don't listen to people, mate. They're full of shite. I'll tell you the truth.
Well, hopefully we see it soon, mate. And I'm a big believer in Bakole. I really do think that when he gets his chance, he's going to be a world champion. But unfortunately, it just seems to be like really the ball's getting kicked down the road as to when he will get his chance.
He'll get his chance. It'll become mandatory. And then, listen, see if they're pissing about with this tournament at the end of the year. What's Daniel Dubois sitting his thumbs? He'll be forced to defend his he'll get step aside money likely because he has mandatory after all. If he doesn't fight Usyk, he might have to fight Usyk. You know what I mean? He might have to fight Usyk. And if Usyk's going away to that tournament, if there is a tournament in December, then the regular title will be vacant. And then maybe Martin could fight for that, a vacant regular title. There is options there. There is things there that could happen.
Well, hopefully, these ones all pan out. But obviously, the main focus has to be for next Saturday. For the big fight, then not overlooking that.
Never.
How do you see some of the action this month going on, Billy? Where there's a lot of big fights with Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia and some other ones like that.
I think Garcia will win. I hope Lomachenko wins, but I think he'll be too small.
Yeah.
What a fighter! An absolute phenomenal fighter. It's a shame what's happened to him between his country getting invaded and the coronavirus. That's ruined that man's career, isn't it? Really? Isn't it really? Well, no, ruined it. That's nonsense, but it's a big stumbling block.
It has. It's probably kept him out of action for probably like the remainder of his peak years, really. But I was wondering, have you seen anything of Shakur Stevenson and what you think of him?
Oh, he's a cracking fighter. Aye, a cracker. He's fighting again next.
He's just fought last weekend against a Japanese fighter, and he dismantled him.
5 or something, didn't he? 4 or 5. Aye, great fighter. Yeah, I know he boxed really well. A very high punch success rate last week, didn't he?
He did. He basically just landed at will and barely got hit at all.
I think the Japanese boy lost the fight on the scales. I think he bottled it a wee bit at the face-to-face, didn't he?
Sorry, what was that, mate? I didn't hear that last.
I think the Japanese boy bottled it a wee bit at the face-to-face at the weigh-in.
Yeah, I do. I think that he talked a big talk, and then when it come to the bright lights, and when it come down to it, I think that the occasion got to him, like the Japanese fighter.
And listen, he'll not be the first, and he certainly won't be the last that'll happen to.
How do you coach fighters through situations like that when you think that maybe the situation's a little bit daunting for them?
I'd like to think the guys that have been with for a long time can handle these situations because they've been brought along the process the right way. I mean, I've just started with Lewis Crocker, who's a fantastic fighter. That guy's I've only been working with him 3 weeks, and he's so mentally strong. His willingness to learn's phenomenal, and I can't. I mean, because I've got 6 pros now, 3 are going to train in the morning, 3 will train in the afternoon, and they'll run on the opposite sides. And he's going to be working with Ryan Clark, and who's a novice pro, and Sultan Zubrek. I mean, Sultan Zubrek is scared. I'd put him in with as great a fighter as Joe Cardina tomorrow, and be very confident of victory. So skilled, fantastic fighter. And then you've got Crocker, who's a people think Crocker's just a big puncher, and he is a big puncher. I mean, the punch that landed on Friday night, the body shot he landed, you could have heard that 100 yards away. It was frightening. That guy could have counted to 10 minutes, let alone 10 seconds. It was a nailing a punch, but he's got a lot more skill in his arsenal than what people give him credit for, and that's something we will be working on as of tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. And how do you see Lewis Crocker's path being mapped out?
Well, I like to think he will fight for some form of title before the end of the year, whether it be Commonwealth, British, or an international title. He's got a fight on the 27th of May in Belfast, and then he'll have a fight in June as well. And then by that time, he'll be 17-0. And I know there's a few promoters sniffing around him as well. So, but hopefully, either after the fight in May or the fight in June, he'll have a big promoter behind him, and he will fight for a world title, that boy.
Yeah. And I remember you saying to me last time privately that you really fancied Lewis Crocker's chances against the likes of Conor Benn.
100%.
I mean, technically, I just think Lewis Crocker is a lot more sounding like sort of well-rounded than Conor Benn.
He's got a better IQ than Conor, and he punches harder than Conor, and he takes a shot better than Conor. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. And Conor's a fine fighter, but what a fight that would be! The two of them near. Well, you couldn't say Conor's near his peak, but you couldn't say Lewis Crocker because he's only had that one and a half rounds in 17 months.
Yeah.
But you wait and see by the end of this year the improvement in that boy. Both skill wise, and see if we can improve his power.
So what about Zoltan Zubrek? How are you bringing him along?
He's over in Kazakhstan now, attending to his wee daughter who's not keeping too well, and he'll be back, I would hope, directly after Ramadan, because he'll be fighting in June.
Brilliant, aye. And another thing I just thought I'd ask you about is obviously it was a massive story with Amir Khan, and it's another drug scandal for British boxing. And I think one of the biggest talking points was how long it took to find out about Cornsfield's test. What do you think about the whole fiasco, and do you think that UCAD is fit for purpose?
Of course they're fit for purpose. Although the results should be made public, but given to the relevant people a lot quicker than what they are.
Do you think that Kell Brook should have been classed as one of the relevant people for that test or not?
Well, no, maybe not directly to, but certainly whoever kills promoter or manager, yes.
And see, one thing what I thought was a little bit ridiculous, but Eddie Hearn sort of teased the idea of like starting his own World Boxing Commission to like in talking about drug tests and stuff like that. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's a bit rich coming for Eddie, considering one of his fighters that's was tested negative or positive. Positive.
Yeah, it's
What's wrong with
exactly
you,
what I
kid?
thought. I thought that Eddie Hearn
What's
really
wrong with
tried
you,
to
Cad?
sort of.
What's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with you, Cad or Vada. They're only doing their job. If there's nothing in your system, there's nothing to worry about. End of subject. If there is something in your system, face the consequences.
That's exactly right, mate. And like, obviously, with Conor Benn, they're putting out the prospect of Conor Benn versus Manny Pacquiao now because I think the Eubank Junior fights fell through, and I just think the idea, the thought of seeing Manny Pacquiao get knocked out potentially against a fighter he would have absolutely annihilated, in his prime is just shocking.
Right, here's one here. What if Manny Pacquiao knocks out Conor Benn? What's going to happen? What are people going to say then?
I think that would be Conor Benn finished, really, wouldn't it?
Because he's been beat with a fantastic fighter, even though he's retired.
Yeah.
He can go back down to a level that I think he's British to European level. I personally don't think he's number 6 or 7 in the world. I mean, he's not proved he's the best in Britain. I would fancy Eckelman to give him a good fight. Congo would give him a good fight. McKitson would give him certainly a very good fight. And Crocker undoubtedly would give him a good fight. So there's 4 guys that would. I'm not saying they'd all beat him, or he'd beat them. But all I'm saying is they would give him good fights, and he's not proved he's selling Britain. Who's he beat of note in Britain? Even that boy for Albania, Marco, would be a good fight for him. Why has he not fought any of them? He's fought all these light welterweight, non-punching light welterweights. And I mean, don't get me wrong, he's looked good doing it, but that's what the other slightly over the hill and smaller guys coming up.
I suppose you're right. I mean, the non-punching, pretty much, some of them are on the wrong side of 40. The other ones are close to 40, and they're all pretty much non-punchers who he's been like fed. And he has looked sensational, but it's just youth, and for me, I think it's the possibility of the performance-enhancing drugs too.
You can't take it away for the performances, but what you can do is question the opponents. So beating the opponents makes you number 6 in the world, eh?
Yeah, definitely not, mate. He hasn't not only has Conor Benn not beat any opponent that I would consider a contender, but he hasn't fought in about a year, and he's another one who's just been moved up the rankings of the WBC.
He get moved up again. He get moved for 76 the other day. Astounds me that. It astounds me. There we go.
We've just got a Nordic Warrior coming in here saying, I took up the sport recently and did some training at Morrison's gym as well as Harrison's round the corner from it. Both of which Billy knows very well, I'm sure.
2 cracking gyms in Glasgow. Big Alex gym. A lot of my friends go there and still train. Peter Harrison's gym in Scott. I think Scott runs the gym now. Just round the corner. I'm not exactly the name of the street, but it's the Scott Harrison School of Boxing. But 2 very good, great people that run them. Good boxing.
Well, Scott Harrison was a brilliant fighter in his own right. I used to love watching him back in the day. He had so much heart. It's a shame he couldn't always stay focused outside the gym because, as great as his career was, you got the feeling that he could have been even better.
Scott had underrated skill. Everybody's just seen Scott as a tough, durable guy. Scott was skilled as well. That jab was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. So apparently Scott is the head coach now, Nordic Warrior says.
Aye.
But what you call it? I've heard Joyce saying that he might need an interim fight before he has a rematch with Zhang. If that like makes the rematch clause fall apart for Joyce, would Zhang be a fight that you would be interested in for Bakole?
Sign that tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
No problem whatsoever. No problem whatsoever.
Because when I watch Bakole, he seems to like have everything Hrgovic and Joyce have really, but a little bit like he's got more athleticism and slightly more polished footwork.
He's got more athleticism and one side of his body and what the two of them have got between the two of them. He moves like a middleweight. He moves like a middleweight. He's got fast hands. Yeah.
He certainly does, mate. He's got very fast hands. Does Bakole. Well, what's happening with Nick Campbell at the minute?
Well, we won on Friday night. We had 3 fighters on Friday night. Lewis Crocker knocked out a boy in the second round. Ryan Clapp made his debut. He won in points, as did Nicky Campbell. You could see the improvement in Nicky Campbell. He actually boxed quite well.
Uh-huh. I haven't managed to watch Nick Campbell's fight yet. I just saw that he'd won. I read that he'd won, should I say? But like, what sort of route will you be taking him on, like to build his way back up now after that? Since you've took him on,
I would take the Stevie Robertson fight this month if he wanted it. You know, I know he had a fight cancelled. I'm sure that if we get in touch with Let's Go Management, we'd take that fight in a heartbeat. But failing that, we'll just get Nicky's back in the gym with me now about, I don't know, a couple of months. And it's all a new learning process for him because I'm doing things. He does things the way I want him to do it now. And, you know, technically, he needs a lot of work, doesn't he? And we're working on that. And he did show some of it on a lot of it actually on Friday night. I thought his work rate was exceptionally good on Friday night.
But when I watch Nick Campbell, when you consider, other than the moment where he switched off against Robinson, when you think that Robinson had a big, extensive amateur background where he went into the ABAs twice and stuff, and Nick Campbell just sort of went pro with limited experience coming from a rugby background.
No, that's not the case. Nicky, I think won the Scottish amateurs twice and went abroad to Russia and other foreign countries with the Scotland team. He never had a vast amateur background, but it wasn't a rugby player that turned to boxing and pro boxing. He did have an amateur career.
Oh, sorry, mate. I've got mixed up there. Then I just had, when you watch some of these interviews, they get the wrong end of the stick, don't they? Some of these folks.
Stephen, no, hey, listen, Big Robinson done well. He done what he had to do. I thought he clearly lost the first 3 rounds, and Big Nicky switched off. You switch off any fight, your lights can get switched off. That's what happened.
Did you ever hear of a bit of a Scottish face called Bradley Welsh?
I remember Bradley. Aye, good fighter.
I boxed on one of his shows in Edinburgh, and I used to speak to him until he passed.
Bradley got his professional boxing license the same day I got my coach's license. The two were at the same meeting, and the best amateur fight I've ever seen was Bradley against somebody down at your neck of the woods in Gateshead. I can't remember what year it was, but it was years and years ago. I think it was in the semi-final of the ABA, and he won. I think he actually won the ABA that year. But it was a good fighter. Good fighter.
I remember when I boxed on one of Bradley's shows. It was I just got asked to do it about a week before, and I wasn't doing much. So I says, "All right, like I'll fly up." And I was like, I think it was in is it the Usher Hall in Edinburgh, big arena, and it was absolutely packed out. I'd never boxed on a show that big before, and I think I boxed a lad called Daniel Golan, who apparently was a Scottish ABA finalist. It was in an unlicensed fight, but it was a close fight. I lost on points, but afterwards I got talking to Bradley, and like I tapped him on the back. I couldn't believe how well put together he was, because when you look at him, and then I was talking to a few people up there, and I didn't realise they were saying, "Oh, he's a right handful," but he was at the time.
Oh, he's a good boxer. A very good boxer.
He was a bit of a big name as well, wasn't he?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about
that. Well, so thanks for the day, Billy. For your time, mate. And is there anything else you'd just like to cover before we go? Or
no, I just thought. I know we were talking about Big Joe and that. Oh, I'm glad to hear that there's no fracture and no damage to his eyes. Just one of those things that swell up because he continually hitting it. And listen, he's a mentally strong guy. I hope he makes the adjustments. He'll have to make the adjustments before the rematch happens. And I like Big Joe. I wish him all the best in his career.
Thanks for the day, Billy, and take care, mate. And all the best with your stable. It would be great to come up sometime with a few fighters and take them up spawn or something sometime, mate, of some of your top pros.
Get in touch. We'll try and arrange something.
Right, take care, Billy. Take care, mate.
All the best. Right. Take care. Thanks.